Grant Johnson took his 4th pole of 2010. And with thanks to Amaral, picks up another check. Great job from the championship leader. He has really been on the money. Another grand in the kitty for the Western Australian. But the Fords are really lined up and ready to go. David Cedars joins him on the front row. Andrew Fisher alongside Jack Elsgood. And good news for Fisher, he retains his race win from Townsville, which he originally lost, but he's got it back now after a fuel irregularity was sorted out. Gary Carson's equalled his best qualifying performance ever. And look for Kim Jane, long way back, 17th on the grid, nasty crash in practice.
Had a very, very big moment going across the top of the hill, stoved it in really hard, and has in fact probably broken a couple of ribs is the early news on him, so we'll watch him throughout the race. Alan Letcher makes a comeback too after that huge rollover last year, and Warren Millett back there in 28th position.
Noel Edge and Steve McFadden round out the full field, 32 cars ready to go in this first race for the weekend. David Cedars, the leader in the Rookie of the Year award. Grant Johnson, the former champion. Let's go racing at Mount Panorama. Great start from Chris Pither. Down along the pit wall. Is there enough for... Oh, no, there's not enough room. There was a touch there with Fisher, and Elsgood nearly gets turned around.
And this is why we love this place, Aaron. How good is this? It's everything to play for. It's Mount Panorama. It's the place that you want to do the best at. And right from the hell corner, they're bumping and grinding everywhere.
Johnson leads. David Cedars tucked in behind. We jump aboard with the DBA in-car. Looking back from Jack Elsgood, Ryle Harris sits in 3rd. It's on up the mountain. Craig Dontis side by side with Charlie O'Brien.
Memories of last year, wasn't it, with Dontis there? Remember, he had it coming together with Fisher in that corner on the first lap last year. But coming up to the cutting for the first time in the Armorall car, it's Johnson leading them away.
He's won 8 races this year. He's just 1 away from the record for most race wins in a year. Gary Carson a little bit wide there at Tyre Power cutting on this first lap when everyone is just trying to sort themselves out. And look at the elevation, look at the climb. There's Brad Patton back behind the wheel of the Wicked Falcon this weekend. Listen to the fans up the top of the hill.
They absolutely love it, and this is the point where you take your biggest deep breath, I guess, of the whole weekend. The first time running around here in competition, I guess, conditions on cold tyres. It's in the morning, you're cruising over Skyline for the first time. Look at Cedars now, right up the biscuit of Johnson.
This Newlawn Falcon has rolled out very well at the start of this race. They broke the suspension in practice, but it is hooked up. There's Kim Jane, long way back. Ben Cabbage, the workhorse Falcon. It's had a pretty solid weekend so far, but Johnson has his nose in front the first time down Conrod. But David Cedars, the Ford, looks fast this weekend.
Oh, he's been fantastic all weekend. And look at him, he tucks up in the draft now. Down Conrod for the first time. Johnson's got a mirror full of the Newlawn car coming into L&H corner in the chase. Cedars out wide, he's going to try it on the first lap. This is a huge manoeuvre, Aaron. Oh, it gets it done.
He didn't try it, he did it, and now covers the line at the chase. Let's see if he's got the pace to run away from Grant Johnson. Cedars was so strong, led the championship after the first round on the streets of Adelaide. This is the first time since he started on the front row of the grid. We're looking from Elsgood at Ryle Harris, the young Gold Coaster who sits in 3rd spot. Then it's Andrew Fisher, Gary Baxter, Gary McDonald, Chris Pither. Great start too from Ben Dunn.
It's all the usual combatants as we go to a replay now of the start. Fisher off the line. Just watch to the left of screen here. The camera goes around. Oh, there you go. Bit of a mirror tip check going straight through, and they're bumping and grinding. I mean, it's a long weekend, Aaron. These guys are not holding back. I love it.
It didn't really help out Pither. He's back in the pack now.
You can just hear the new sound on the Commodores too, Aaron, this weekend. Oh, look at that again.
That was close.
And you've got to be really careful doing that, because when you rub tyres and wheels like that, you can actually make a tyre let go. And this is one place you just don't want that to happen.
It's a battle of the Garys, Baxter and McDonald. And Baxter just hanging on at the moment.
He's also just hanging on because he's a bit injured in the car. He had a water skiing accident a week and a half ago. Suddenly the Murray's got some water. Of course, he's from Adelaide, so he goes out there in the boat and he's pulled a muscle in the leg.
We jump aboard with Chris Pither, the ice break in car. First time back at the mountain since a crash right here 2 years ago when He was on board the Team Kiwi Falcon that ploughed in the back of Paul Wheels, PWR Commodore. First time in a ute and very, very quick across the top, but there's nowhere to go.
No, you can't go too wide going over the top of Skyline, and especially when your teammate's right in front of you. You have to be so careful through this section. Down into the dipper now, and then it's flat to the boards heading towards Forest Elbow. So tight going through down there. Cedars now off the elbow, heading down Conrod for the second time. And look at the gap that he's pulled, Aaron, across the top of the mountain there from Johnson.
It's got a nice little margin. We jump back with the fourth place man, Jack Elsgood. I still can't believe that Jack hasn't won a race this year. It seems really strange. Of course, we're up to round 6 of 8. It's phenomenal, but he's still in the championship picture.
Oh, look, he's second at the moment, and that's a whole, I guess, mindset that he's taken to this year as he has a quiet look at the Roy Lance's car. They're down in the chase. Oh, the Garys continue the action.
No, Gary, no, Gary, no, Gary, no.
And you don't reckon Pither's just sitting back there saying, righto, boys, keep it going. I'll just pick up a spot. The moment you two throw it off the road, I'm going to pick it up.
Have a look at this in the background. Brad Patton closing in on Ben Dunn. Patton missed the last round of the championship, was on holidays overseas. Kurt Wimmer filled the seat very well down at Phillip Island. But he's been one of the big improvers in the Yokohama V8 Ute Series in the last couple of years. David Cedars is flying, 2-minute 34.8. There's Craig Donis, there's Kim Jane, Ben Cabbage right with them. And Donis has been on his annual trip for the Denny Ute Muster and enjoyed a bit of circle work while he was there too. It
was a fabulous weekend. I joined him down there on that weekend. And if you haven't been, folks, to the Denny Ute Muster, as Willis now locks it up. Going down into Hell Corner, just trying to make a pass on Jason Gomersall and Rob Jarvis there. Of course, Jarvis and Gomersall teammates. Jarvis right in the front there in the 17 car. And look at Gomersall, because of that lockup, he's had a really strong run on Willis, just left him behind there, coming up to Griffins. Oh, it covers the line.
That was a little bit tight. It is on back in the pack in race 1. Out in front, though, David Cedars leads the way. More from Bathurst in just a few moments. Back at Bathurst with the V8 Utes at Mount Panorama. Gary Carson's been running it fine. Jack Elsgood, while we were away, very nearly took out Ryle Harris, but cost himself some time.
Yeah, you can't do that down there. It's easy to do, though. But look at this. Now Fisher gets the run on him down into the corner.
Peter Burnett lost it over the top of Skyline. Belted into the tyre wall. Didn't involve anybody else. This is what it was like from in-car. Oh, no.
Oh, that is... It looks like he's just, as he's come over Skyline, the weight of the car has shifted, which he wasn't expecting, and he's whacked away the old clean-away side.
And cleaned away the front of his car as well. This is the fight for 5th. Jack Elsgood, Gary Baxter, Gary McDonald, heading back up the hill. David Cedars still leads the way from Grant Johnson and Ryle Harris. Baxter on the outside. He's leaving the door open. McDonald is going to fill the gap as well. Down the inside, up on the curb, and into the side of Gary Baxter. And he saved it. Good job, but ooh, that was tough.
Baxter's Monday to Friday 9 to 5 job is a stunt driver, and you could see it there, folks. Boy, that car control was awesome. But he just left the door wide open. McDonald came flying through. As we go to the Yokohama onboard replay of Elsgood. Slides up the inside, gets him mid-door. Dukes of Hazzard style, holds it through King G corner. How good is that?
I think that's one that Driving Standards observer Warren Luff and the crew will look into, because he's gained a place from making contact with a car. And I just think that they'll look at that. Obviously, we like a bit of rough and tumble, but that will be looked at. But what it does do is it brings Chris Pither back up to Baxter, who makes a big lock-up over the top. And look at this. The road just...
Oh, and again, sideways,
hey, no
out of the dipper, and untouched.
No one touched him that time.
No, look at this, as we go too wide, down through the S's and into Forest Elbow, man, you will rarely ever see that kind of action through that part of the course. You've got the telltale signs down the side of Baxter's car there, but Pither has just bumped and run and is all the way down Conrod Straight. He's opened up about a 3-car gap.
They had a loose suspension arm on the Baxter car in qualifying, but it's back up and running now. Over the crest on Conrod Straight, and we're talking pretty decent speeds into the chase.
245 k/h plus down through the chase now into King G corner. Baxter just seems to have settled a little bit there. Although, again, he's pretty hairy coming out of the chase as well.
Something wrong in the back of this thing.
That's Gary Baxter reporting back to his crew in pit lane. And what's wrong with the back of it is it's sideways through the dipper.
Oh, have a look at that. You will rarely see that as well, coming out of the dipper. I wonder if that's, I guess, a consequence of the issue that he had with Gary McDonald just at the Griffin's Bend on the way back up the straight. We'll watch that as this race continues. We've only got 1 lap to go. His outright pace looks still pretty strong. He's tucked up behind Pither there.
This is the 3rd year in a row that the Utes have been a part of the Super Cheap Auto Bathurst 1000. The 7th time, though, that the Utes have been to the mountain. They've been a bit of a mainstay in recent years. Here's Craig Donnis, the Thirsty Camel Commodore, and Kim Jane is hurting. He is really putting in one heck of an effort. Went off to hospital on Thursday after that crash at the top of the mountain. And he is not a well man, but he's plugging on, just trying to get some points. I
spoke to him earlier before the race. He's in fact had to have pain-killing injections to be able to get into the car, to be able to complete in this race. He's got Dontis just ahead of him, but remember, these two are teammates as well. So while Kim follows Dontis over the top of the mountain now, through Armour Park, heading towards McPhillamy Park, he might actually be able to give him a couple of hints and let him know what he's doing.
Just up in front of those two is Gary Carson in car 13. There he is, dropping off the top of the hill, running with a bit of signage for the St George Illawarra Dragons. Big fan, having wrapped up the NRL Premiership, gloating to everyone around the paddock, by the way.
Yeah, you can't get past him without him waving a flag or doing something at him. In fact, he's had St George Illawarra on that car for a couple of years now, so very happy team there this weekend. Back on board with Dontis now, turning into Forest Elbow, early on the throttle, and just drifting it right out to the wall there for the rundown Conrod. He's gapped Kim Jane there a little bit again, heading down under the Jim Beam Bridge. And Brad Patton's ranging now up to the back of Kim Jane as well. You'd have to say, Aaron, Brad Patton has done a fantastic job. This is the 3rd time he's been here at the mountain, and he's consistently in the top 10 this weekend and wherever he goes now.
And he's been down on track time, only did 6 laps in the 2 practice sessions, had sat out the second one trying to get some clear track, and it was red flagged, so comes into the race without too many laps. But this man, David Cedars, ran in the 1000k race last year as a wildcard entry with the V8 Supercars, has joined the Utes this year and has brought a lot of experience, a lot of pace, and has been a real championship contender. But Grant Johnson, I don't think we'll be too concerned with what's going on in this race.
No, look, he's in with a chance at the championship, obviously, with only a couple of rounds to go. So it's going to be an interesting mix of, does he throw it all out there on the line for the race win and the glory of standing on the Bathurst podium, or does he just keep that championship idea in the back of his mind?
Well, in years gone by, Johnson has been a winner in the first race, and then something's gone wrong for the rest of the weekend, so it might not be such a bad thing finishing second in the first one if he can keep it all together for the rest of the weekend. But he'll be happy in the knowledge that his championship rival, Jack Elsgood, is a couple of spots back.
And quite frankly, I don't reckon anyone's going to catch David Cedars in that Newlon Oils car. Have a look at the pace as it goes across the top of the mountain. Just lightly touches the brake over the hump into McPhillamy Park here. That car is brilliantly set up. We'll watch it come down the mountain now. This is one of the hardest parts of the circuit because, of course, there's no weight in the rear of these cars, Aaron. All the weight's over the front axles, and being on a downhill slope, the braking capacity is just huge. You have to be so careful.
And when we talk weight in a V8 Ute, there's a lot of it. It's about 400, 500 odd kilos heavier than a V8 Supercar. So that's a lot of mass to wind across the top of the mountain, to brake at the end of the straight, to put on the tyres, to put on the load of the drivetrain. It's a big, heavy car.
1,800 kilos, and you're trying to wrestle it through corners doing 150, 160 kilometres an hour with a wall only 3 or 4 feet away from you. As we watch the Newlon car of Cedars now heading down towards the chase for the last time. A heap of Newlon people in the crowd here this weekend. Paul Grimshaw and the guys have come to watch their car at the mountain. They'd be up there with their flags, screaming and yelling. They're happy boys, no doubt.
It's not all over for Holden fans. There's 2 races left to go, but David Cedars has started the weekend in absolute great form. Qualified on the front row of the grid, took the lead early on, and he's on his way home to a win at the mountain. Doesn't matter what it's in. Could be in a go-kart. Any win at Mount Panorama is a cracker, and Cedars takes race 1. Johnson does it sideways, but comes home in second. And Ryle Harris, very consistent, very quiet drive, but 3rd place, a good start for the weekend.
And after a bunch of dramas earlier in the race, Aaron, Baxter's able to still bring the car home in 8th, so that's a top 10 for him. A great effort there.
For a guy who was facing sideways at turn 2, that is a great run. Kim Jane didn't give up there, nearly grabbed a spot from his teammate Craig Donnis. Here's the results of race 1. Jack Elsgood in 5th, Charlie O'Brien and Ben Dunn rounded at the top 10. But for Cedars, he's broken Grant Johnson's deadlock of winning every first race of the year since round 1 in Adelaide.
Yeah, it hasn't been done since round 1, which was me, so it's good to get back on that top spot. I've had a bit of a rough trot in a couple of rounds through the middle part of the season, so it's good to get back to that number 1. We probably had the pace at Phillip Island, but we sort of stepped on our own toes at Phillip Island and didn't make it happen, and here at Bathurst we're making it happen.